Greetings and welcome to this Danish English special report on renewed perspective from Danish Jews after the historic peace agreement between Israel and Hamas. Tonight we bring you an in-depth report on the historic peace agreement between Israel and Hamas, a deal that has silenced the bombs for the first time in 2 years, but left behind a region and people struggling to find their footing. From the streets of Gaza City to Copenhagen synagogues, our correspondents trace how this fragile peace is reshaping lives and what it means for Danish Jews seeking healing, safety, and understanding at home. With original reporting and analysis from DR, TV2, and international media including BBC, Reuters, and Haaretz. This is your trusted Danish window on the world, Danish-InfoNewsTV. After the guns fall silent, the fragile peace between Israel and Hamas and what it means for Denmark. Copenhagen, Gaza City, Jerusalem, October 14th of 2025. After 2 years of one of the bloodiest conflicts in modern Middle Eastern history, the long-awaited peace agreement between Israel and Hamas has finally taken effect. Across the world, scenes of celebration, grief, and disbelief are unfolding, and in Denmark the news has stirred both relief and reflection. From jubilant crowds in Ramallah and Tel Aviv to the cautious optimism in Copenhagen's Jews and Palestinian communities, the first fragile step toward peace have begun. 7 October 2025, Europe sidelined in the Middle East. The announcement of US brokered framework for peace has laid bare the new geopolitical order in the Middle East and Europe's diminishing influence. Former Danish top diplomat Friis Arne Petersen called the process a sad affair for European diplomacy. It shows how little Europe is seen as an important player by either Israel or Palestinians, he told TV2. It's really crucial that Europe recognizes its timing and responsibility. We are neighbors to the region, and yet we are not even at the table. Petersen pointed to the Venice Declaration of 1980, once the foundation of a joint European Middle East policy, lamenting that EU had now been reduced to a marginal player. 9 October 2025, Mette Frederiksen welcomes the agreement. In Copenhagen, the Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen, Social Democrat, responded swiftly as the first phase of the peace deal was announced. Finally, good news, the Prime Minister's office wrote on X. Denmark welcomes the agreement between Israel and Hamas. It will be an important first step toward ending the war in Gaza. The release of hostages must begin immediately, as must the vital humanitarian aid reaching civilians. Frederiksen urged all sides to use the deal as a stepping stone toward a lasting two-state solution, a line that echoes Denmark's long-standing foreign policy stance. 13 October 2025, hope returns cautiously. The first hostages and prisoners were released today, marking the start of the peace plan's initial phase. From Tel Aviv to Ramallah, people took to the streets, waving flags, crying and embracing strangers. For Chief Rabbi Jermer Shear in Copenhagen, the moment carried deep spiritual weight. Hope has no limits, he said. It doesn't mean being naive. Even in the darkest place, one can still have hope. At the same time, Fethi Labid, head of the Danish-Palestinian Friendship Association, expressed both relief and caution. There must be a real peace process that respects the Palestinians' national and historical rights, not just a take-it-or-leave-it offer, he said. We still fear that this could be yet another temporary pause, not a transformation. Both leaders, one Jewish, one Palestinian, agree that while the guns may be silent, the work of peace has only just begun. 14 October 2025, the day after, fragile calm and new violence. All 20 hostages freed. The Israeli Defense Force confirmed this morning that all 20 surviving hostages held by Hamas have been released and are back on Israeli soil. It's official. There are no more living Israeli hostages in Hamas's captivity, the IDF wrote on X. Massive rebuilding challenge ahead. The UN Development Programme, UNDP, has received very positive signals from the US, Arab states, and European donors about funding for Gaza's reconstruction. The scale is staggering. 55 million tons of rubble. Estimated cost, nearly 500 billion Danish krone. This will be one of the largest reconstruction efforts in modern history, said UN Representative Jacob Seilers in Geneva. At the same time, the Palestinian delegation to the UN demanded the release of over 10,000 Palestinian prisoners, accusing Israel of unlawful detentions and widespread abuse. A 2024 UN report had already documented systemic mistreatment, including torture, sexual violence, and death in custody. Israeli authorities have opened internal investigations, but skepticism remains high. Macron voices concern. French President Emmanuel Macron warned at the summit in Egypt that the challenge ahead lies not just in rebuilding Gaza, but in ensuring that Hamas truly disarms. You don't dismantle a terror organization with thousands of fighters, tunnels, and weapons overnight, Macron said. There must be international oversight. The peace framework signed in Sharm el-Sheikh by Donald Trump, Turkey's, Egypt's, and Qatar's leaders is being hailed as historic but fragile. Violence. Inside Gaza, peace on paper, chaos on the ground. Even as leaders declare peace, new violence erupts inside Gaza. According to BBC and Reuters, internal clashes broke out between Hamas fighters and the powerful Dagmash clan, leading to several deaths. Verified footage showed masked gunmen executing bound men in public square in Gaza City, an apparent act of retaliation by Hamas forces. We are seeing law and order breaking down completely, reporting Selin Turka, DR's correspondent in East Jerusalem. Now that Israel's army has withdrawn from certain areas, Hamas is trying to reassert control and doing so violently. Puk Damsko, DR's Middle East correspondent, described the situation as a descent into lawlessness. Gaza is in a vacuum. The Hamas police are back on the streets trying to reimpose authority. But their methods, public executions, reprisals, show how fragile any talk of stability really is. Meanwhile, the Israeli military confirmed that 5 Palestinians were shot dead early Tuesday after crossing the so-called Yellow Line, the boundary patrolled by Israeli troops inside Gaza. Residents are urged not to approach troops in the area, the IDF said. Analysis: a peace built on sand. 2 years of war have left Gaza shattered, Israel traumatized, and regional diplomacy profoundly reshaped. Trump's high-profile peace deal may have stopped the bombing, but the underlying mistrust, division, and trauma remain. Hamas still controls large parts of Gaza. Israel demands full disarmament before moving to Phase 2. And on the ground, rival factions are fighting for power amid the ruins. In Europe, diplomats admit privately that Washington, Doha and Cairo, not Brussels, are now setting the terms of peace. For Denmark, the challenge is now to stay engaged through humanitarian aid, peace-building efforts, and dialogue between communities at home. What it means for Jews in Denmark: relief, reflection, and renewed responsibility. For Denmark's Jewish community, the peace agreement has brought relief but not closure. After years of fear and grief, many Danish Jews now feel a fragile calm. Synagogues in Copenhagen have filled with prayers of thanks for the hostages' return, and community leaders are cautiously optimistic. Chief Rabbi Jermal Shir says hope remains essential. It's a moment of relief, but also a reminder. We must work harder than ever for understanding between people. Peace abroad begins with peace in how we speak to one another here. The war years left deep scars on Denmark's small Jewish population. Anti-Semitic incidents spiked, security was tightened around schools and synagogues, and many Jews say they felt unfairly targeted. As representatives of Israel's actions, it's been painful, Melchior admitted earlier this year. There's been a tendency to treat Jews in Denmark as ambassadors for a foreign government. But we're Danes and we share the same hopes for peace as everyone else. Now, Jewish and Muslim leaders in Denmark are reviving interfaith dialogues, seeking to rebuild trust that was strained by 2 years of conflict. At Copenhagen's universities, young Danish Jews express cautious optimism, hoping that the peace will allow for open, respectful conversation about the Middle East, free from hostility or fear. Every time there's a flare-up in Gaza, it changes how people look at me, said one student. Maybe now things can calm down and we can talk again. For Denmark's Jewish community, the peace agreement is not just a political milestone. It's a chance for healing, a moment to discover shared humanity both abroad and at home. As Rabbi Melchior put it, peace must not only happen between nations, it must live between neighbors. As the guns fall silent in Gaza, a quieter transformation begins here in Denmark, in the conversations between neighbors, and in the hopes shared across synagogues and community halls. For many Danish Jews, this peace marks not an end, but a beginning, a chance to rebuild trust, confront prejudice, and renew dialogue. With Muslim and Palestinian Danes guided by the belief that peace abroad must also live here at home. You've been watching Danish-InfoNewsTV special coverage. After the guns fall silent, the Danish Jewish perspective. A report produced with credits to DR Nyheder, TV2 Nyhederne, BBC and Haaretz. To stay informed on our ongoing Middle East coverage, in-depth Danish perspective and community reports, subscribe to Danish-InfoNewsTV on YouTube.